questions on JAMB. And if you look at all what we have been discussing in JAMB, recently we started a free online class on JAMB. And this is to help all JAMB candidates that are preparing for the 2024 UTME exam. So we are going to help you through your syllabus in going through some certain questions in mathematics, English, and most other subjects which you might find very, very interesting. I want to introduce to you your JAMB syllabus for this section. The 2024 JAMB syllabus is a syllabus you're going to use as you take your JAMB exams. So we, in the last live stream we discussed the first part in the numbers and numeration section of this syllabus. We discussed the number and the number basis. So today we are going to consider fractions in its entirety. We're going to look at fractions, decimal, and approximation. And we're also going to consider some other important topics that is related to this. Now, the key point we want to take from our discussions in all we want to discuss, in all we'll be discussing online as we take this live stream is the solving or solutions of past questions. And that's the key thing we want to consider. So today, in today's class, we'll be considering fraction, decimal, and approximation. And this is in line with your JAMB syllabus 2023. Now, when we talk about decimal numbers, decimal fractions, and significant figures, we're also going to consider approximation. What do we really mean by this? When we talk about decimal numbers are a whole of a part of a whole. Now, what do we mean by that? In decimal numbers, we'll have the part that is the whole, and we'll also have the fractional part. So whenever you have a decimal number, you might have a number like 1.324. This is the whole part of this decimal number, and this is the what? The fractional part of this decimal number. Now, in your exams, you'll be giving questions on decimal numbers, and no matter how the question is, you'll be required to find the answers to such what? To such questions. Now, let's consider this question. We are going to look at decimal numbers. And when we also talk about decimal fractions are also fractions whose denominators are numbers such as, when we have fractions whose denominators are numbers such as 100, 10, 100, 1000, and so on, and they form the decimal of such fraction, those fractions are what we call decimal fraction. So we might have 3 divided by 10. This is a decimal fraction. We might have 36 divided by 1000. These are decimal They're also decimal numbers. So you see that when we have decimal fractions, these are decimal fractions, while these are decimal numbers. So when you do your JAMB examinations, you're going to see things like this as you take your JAMB examination. Now, the whole thing we want to discuss today, we want to look at decimal places. Now, what is it about decimal places? Decimal places involve the placement of digits after the decimal numbers. Now, when you are asked to place digits after the decimal numbers, wherever that these digits are is what we call the placement of decimal numbers. They can ask you to do something and they say find it in 5 decimal place, find it in 2 decimal places, find it in 3 decimal places. No matter the decimal places you're asked to find that, you always see it there. Now, what is it about decimal places? Whenever you are asked to round something up to a given decimal place, there is one key point you should note, that zeros after the decimal point are always what? Counted as numbers, and they are also rounded off. Now, what do I mean by this? When you have zeros after the decimal point, when you have a number like 0. Now, when we have numbers like 0.0267, and we are asked to round this up to 3 decimal places. Now, remember, the zeros are always what? They are always counted. They have a place. So, to 3 decimal places, this will be equal to 0.02. While this approximates to give us, make this 7, and this is to what? To 3 decimal what? Decimal place. Now you see that. So whenever you are asked to approximate a number to 3 or 2 decimal places, you should remember that this 0 is what is also counted, and they are also included in the decimal values. So whenever you are asked to do that, just remember that zeros are also included. Now, let's go straight to significant figures. Remember, the reasons why we are doing all this is to learn to solve JAMB past questions. So I'm just giving you a revision of what you see, or what these decimal fractions and the like are according to your syllabus, because that is what you are asked to do. The main aim of this part of the syllabus, you'll be asked to perform basic operation in multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition of fractions and decimals. And you'll be asked to express to specific number of significant figures and decimal places. Now you see that key objective. That's what you'll be asked to do in your exam. So we'll ask you to place something in a decimal place or a significant figure. Now, when you are also asked to place a given value to significant figures are the number of digits in a value. They are always considered as a measurement that contributes to the degree of accuracy of that value. Now, when you are asked to add something, or you are asked to state something into significant figures, remember that the non-zeros after the decimal places are not to be are to be counted, but the zeros are not to be counted because they are not considered as numbers. Now let's look at this. If you are given 0.0368, and you're asked to round this up to 3 significant figures. Now, how do you round this up to 3 significant figures? We add 9 here. Remember, zeros after the decimals are not what? Are not counted. So we'll have this to become 0.0 to 3 significant figures will give us 3, 6, and what? And 9. And this is to what? To 3 significant what? Figures. Why? Because the zeros after the decimal place are not what? Are not counted. But if it is to round it up to some decimal places, then the 0 after the decimal place will be considered and counted as numbers. But in significant figures, you only consider the non-zero digits. Now, take note of that. They are very important. Now, if we round this up to 2 significant figures, it will only give us 0.031, because you approximate this to make this 7. Since this is above Above 5. But if you have a digit like 0.0234 to 2 significant figure, it's going to give you a 0.023. Why? Because this 4 cannot be what? Cannot be rounded up. It's not up to 5 to be what? to be rounded up. Now, take note of that. It's very, very important. Now, we are going to look at approximation. Now, when we talk about approximation is anything that is similar but not exactly equal to something else. Now, these are just key points we are taking. We are still going to consider examples under this, and these examples will be taken from various years of the JAMB UTME past questions. So a number can be considered to be approximated or can be considered as approximated when we round such numbers up. Now, remember, when a number is more than 5, it can be approximated. Uh, but when it is below 5, it cannot be what? Approximated. So I want you to take good note of that. So that is exactly what we have when we approximate values. Now, a calculation can be approximated, as I said earlier on, by rounding up the values within it before performing any operation you want to do what you want to perform. Now, let's consider this and then see how we can progress further. Remember, the key thing we need today is to take past questions, and we have series of past questions for you from the JAMB UTME past question. Now, we have simply summarized what they mean by decimal places, decimal number, significant figures. We've also looked at how to play about with approximation. Now, I want to take up to 3 or 4 or 5 JAMB past questions, which you might see in your exams. And when you see questions on decimal places, decimal numbers, fractions, significant figures, you don't need to waste time on such questions because they are not required to be wasted time on. These are just questions you work on, you tick your answer, and then you go ahead to the next question. So we won't spend time on such questions, and then you solve them, and then go ahead to another question. Now, imagine that you are giving this question in your JAMB UTME exams. This is JAMB UTME 2013, and this is question number 4 in 2013. You're asked to evaluate You're asked to evaluate 1.25 multiplied by 0.025, and this is divided by 0.05. Now, when you are asked to evaluate this, and you are asked to evaluate this correct to one decimal place. So how do you solve this question if you are given this question in your JAMB UTME exams? There are various ways people can approach this question, but the key and simplest way to approach this question is to simply find the standard form, convert all these values to what? To standard form. And remember that when you are converting to standard form, definitely when you count to this end, you count what? You count positive. And when you count from the decimal out, it becomes what? A negative counting. Now, if we have that, we are going to have this to become, if we count this 1 and 2, that will give us 125 because we have moved the decimal point to this place. And then we'll have 125 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 2, right? We move the decimal point 2 places. And now if we move this decimal point 1, 2, 3, we count it this way, it will become what? 25, because we moved it to this place, multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 3. So we moved it to that point, 3 points to that place. Then we're going to divide this by, let's move this 1, 2, and it comes here, and that will give us 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of -2. Now, once you've done this, the next thing you should think of doing is to separate the numbers from the powers, the significant or the standard form powers. So that will give us what? 125 multiplied by 5 divided by 5, and this is multiplying 10 to the power of minus 2 multiplied by 10 to the power of minus 3, all divided by 10 to the power of minus 2. Automatically, nobody needs to tell you that this will have to clear this. And then when we have, this is 25, right? So when we have this multiplying this, 5 here will give me 5, and 5 here will give me what? 5 here will give me 2, right? Good. So if we have 5 here, it will give me 1, 5 will give me 1, and 5 divided by 25 divided by 5 will give me 2. So we're going to have 25, 125 multiplied by what? Now let's look at that again. We are going to consider this when we simplify this. This is not right. 5 here will give us 1. 25 divided by 5 will give us 5, right? Because 5 times 5 is what? Is 25. Now let's multiply 125 multiplied by 5. 125 multiplied by 5 is going to give us, if we point our calculator, we're going to have 5 times 5 is 25. Then we'll carry 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Then we'll have 2, carry 1. That is 12. 5 times 1 is going to give us 5 plus 1 is 6. And this will be multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 1, 3. Now, having taken that, the next thing we need to do is to simplify this. Remember, if this is equal to this, then our solution will be 6, 2, 5. Now, for we to have a negative 3, that means we're going to take the point back to where it should be. If the point is initially here, we'll take it 3 places back and it will be here. So the solution will be 0.2, 0.63625, and that will be the answer to that question. So the answer is going to be 0.2625. So whenever you are asked to do this, remember these steps, and that will help you to solve the question very, very easily. Now let's look at another UTME exam question, which you might find very interesting. It's a UTME exam question that many persons have also tried to solve, and then we'll consider that question and then see a solution to that question. Remember, I said the key reasons why we are taking this question or where we are solving this, doing this exam revisions is to solve JAMB UTME question. Now let's look at this JAMB UTME question. In this JAMB UTME question, we are asked to what? This is JAMB UTME question 2012, and this is number 3. And we are asked to simplify. We are asked to simplify 2 to the power of 2 divided by 3, right? Multiplied by 1 divided by 2, and this is divided by 4 to the power of 4 divided by 1. So how do we solve this? Now, when given this question, remember all these are what? Fractions, and it's more of decimal fractions. We're asked to simplify these fractions. Now, how do we do? The first thing we need to do is to convert all these fractions to what we call improper fraction. And when we convert them all to improper fraction, this is going to give me 2 times 3 will give me 6, right? Plus 2 will give me 8 divided by 3, right? Multiplied by 2 times 1 will give you 2, plus 1 will give you 3 divided by 2, and this will be divided by 4 times 5 will give us 20, plus 4, that will give us 24 divided by 1. Now, automatically, you're going to see that this will easily work out well because we're going to have what? 8 divided by 3, multiplying 3 divided by 2, and all these will be what? Will be divided by 24 divided by 5. Now, this can simply cut this, and this can easily be here 1, and this will be what? 4, right? So we are simply going to have 4 divided by 24 divided by 5. And this can simply give us what? 4 multiplied by y this inverse 5 divided by 24, right? 2 can easily go here to give us 2. 2 will go here to give us 1 and what? And 2. Why 2 can easily go here to give us 1. 2 can easily go here to give us 2. So our result is going to be 5 divided by what? By 6. And that will be the solution to that fractional question that is given to us. So when you are given anything related to fraction, it's just straightforward. You solve and then you get the answers to your question. That is exactly what you do there. Now let's analyze some other questions. If we analyze this other question, you're going to see how tactical this other question we are going to solve is, and you come to know that the question definitely not too difficult. So one sweet questions you always see in JAMB UTME exams are questions that are under these sections of your syllabus. They are very easy to play around with. Then you solve them easily and then get your results. Now, where is this question taken from? I saw this question in one of the post-UTME exam, and this is the UTME 2012, UTME 2012, and this is question number 4. In that question number 4, you are asked to evaluate. You're asked to evaluate 21 divided by 9, right, to 3 significant words, figures. So you're asked to evaluate this to 3 significant figures. So how do you go about this? 21 divided by 9 to 3 significant figures. Now, if you're asked to solve this, how do you go about solving this? The best thing you do is to simplify this 21 divided by 9. We send it out to what we call fraction. Now, when we break it out to a fraction with numbers, the fractional part and the whole, this is going to give us 2, right? Normally, 2 times 9 is going to give us 18, right? And the remainder will be what? 3, because 21 divided by 3 will remain what? 21 minus 18 will give us 9. So if we reduce this, we're going to have a fraction. And this is just similar to you having 2 plus 3 divided by 9. Both of these makes up 21 divided by 9. So what we are going to do now is to simplify both of them. Remember, if we simplify, we can easily evaluate. Now, if I simplify this, this will simply give me 1 divided by what? By 3. So I will be having what? 2 whole number 1 divided by 3. Now, what do I get here? I have to simplify this 1 divided by 3. You have to simplify this 1 divided by 3. 1 divided by 3 is like we having 3 and dividing 1 by 3. 1 divided by 3 is not possible. We write 0 and then we'll put a 0 inside there. Now, 10 divided by 3, we're going to have it in 3 places because 3 times 3 is 9. And when you subtract this is going to give you what? 1. So when we divide this, 1 divided by 3 is still not possible. We'll put what? We put 0. 10 divided by 3 is going to give us 3. And 3 times 3 will give us 9. And that will give us 1 when we subtract it. So 1 divided by 3 is still not possible. We'll put 0. 10 divided by 3 will give us 3. So this shows us that this is a progressive what? Progressive division. So if you have such division, that tells you that this will be equal to 2 plus 0.333 and 3, and it's progressive that way. So this is going to give us 2.333 and what? And 3. So how do you solve this now to three significant figures? To three significant figures simply tells you that what they simply want you to have there is just what? It's just three what? It's just three figures. So to three significant figures is going to give us 2.3 and what? And 3. And that is the three significant figures we are asked to find. Remember, they say you should solve to three significant figures. So that is going to give us 2.33, and that is the point. Now, since 0 is before, a number is before the point, we are going to pick that number and count that number as a significant figures. Now, remember, when we did that of 0.0329, the number here is not is a zero digit, so we will not count it because non-zero digits are the digits you should count when you are considering significant what figures. So this is how you go about solving this question, and when you solve it, you have your answer working out. And if you check the JAMB question, you'll find out that this is option what? Option D of that question we're given. So that is that. So let's look at how we are going to also go ahead to solve another, like two more JAMB UTME questions to round off this section of questions we are taking. We're going to consider two more JAMB UTME questions. And let's look at this question. This question says, let's look at this question. This question says we should simplify, is a JAMB UTME question, 2010, question number 3. And what does the question say? It says we should simplify 3 divided by 4 of 4 divided by 9 divided by 9 whole number 1 over 2, and all this is divided by 1 to the power of 5 divided by 19. Now, how do we solve this question? We are given this question. How do you play around this question? Remember that the use of Boardmans, or some people will use PANDEF, is very PAMDAS in solving this is very essential because that will help you get the solution to this question easily. So what do we do? The first thing we're going to do here is to consider using the what? The Boardmans. Now, how do we use the Boardmans in solving this question? Let's consider the question in bracket. But before we do that, let's take all this back to what? To their fractions. They are all, we have some there that are not fractions, that are not really fractions. So let's take them to, let's take this and this back to what? To fractions. Since we have this, they are mixed fractions. Let's take them to fractions. We have this. This is going to give us 3 to the power of 4. Remember, this is multiplication. 4 divided by 9 divided by 9 times 2 is 18 plus 1 is 19 divided by 18 divided by 2, right? And this will be what? Divided by 19 times 1 is what? 19 plus 5. That will give us what? 24 divided by what? By 19. So what would this give us? We'll consider the bracket first. And when we consider the bracket, this will definitely clear this. 3 here will give us 1. And 9 divided by 3 will give us what? 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, right? So we're going to have this to become 1 divided by 3, right? Multiplied by 2 divided by 19, right? That's what's in the bracket. And this will become 19 multiplied by 19 divided by 24. Now, if we open this bracket, because we are done with the bracket, this will give us 1 multiplied by 2 divided by 19 multiplied by 19 divided by 24. So to simplify this will simply clear this. This will simply give us 1, and this will give us what? 12, right? Good. So this is going to give us 12 times what? 12 times 3. And when we simplify that, this is going to give us 1 divided by 36. So this is the solution to that question we are given. So when we reduce that fraction, we're going to find the results to be 1 divided by 36. And if you check the option in that question, you're going to see that the option is option. And that's the solution to that question. Now, let's take one more final question. And this question is very tactical. You see it in your exams. You might see this. This is the JAMB 2023 class question, question number 8. And what did that question say? JAMB UTME question 2023, question number 8. And what did that place say? Let's consider it. This is JAMB UTME 2023 question. 2023 question, and that is question number what? 2020, that's 2003, question number 8. Now, if you want any question, any of these JAMB questions as a whole, just drop a comment in this video, and I will be able to send you that through via your email. So just drop a comment in this section and drop your email, and then we'll discuss more about that. I'm going to be sending a live, I'll be sending a live ads about these live classes as they progress. Now, what is this question? We are asked to what? We are asked to evaluate. We are asked to evaluate 1 divided by 0.06 divided by 1 divided by 0.042, and all these to the power of -1. And we are asked to do this correct to 2 decimal places. Now, how do we solve this if we are asked to find this correct to 2 decimal places? Now, you find out that this is a decimal fraction, this is a decimal number, this is a decimal number, and we need to do what? To reduce them to what? To the various form. For the fact that we have division here, means that we can invert this. Now, to solve this question, we're going to change that division, and that will give us what? 1 divided by 0.06 multiplied by 0.042 divided by 1, and all these will be raised to the power of -1, right? So this can simply give us 0.042 divided by 0.06, all to the power of -1. Now you see now that you can reduce this one to a standard form. And when you reduce it to a standard form, what will it give you? We're going to take this decimal point to this point, and that will give us what? 1, 2, and what? And 3. So that will give us 42 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 3. This is going to give us what? 6 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 2. And remember, all these things to the power of negative what? 1. So we're going to simplify this. For this negative 1, we are going to remove it. So if we remove negative 1, that means this will be divided by this multiplied by 10 to the power of minus 2 divided by 42 multiplied by 10 to the power of minus 3, right? And this can just be easily raised to the power of 1. Why do I do this? Because if you have r to the power of negative 1, this can be whole to 1 divided by r. Now, if r is equal to a divided by b, that means r can also be inverted to give us what? B divided by what? By b. Because we are going to have 1 divided by a divided by what? B. And when you simplify this, you're going to have b divided by a. That's exactly what we did there. So you see, that's exactly what we did here in order to get this value. So the value is very easy now to simplify. All we need to do, we'll have 6 divided by 42, right? Multiplied by, according to the law of indices, this will give us 10 to the power of negative 2, right? Minus, minus what? 3. Because when you divide this by this, according to the division law of indices, this is going to give you what? Negative. So this is now going to give us 6 divided by 42 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 2 plus what? Plus 3. And what is that going to give us? This is now going to give us 6 divided by 42, right? Multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. So what is 6 divided by 42? 6 divided by 42 can still be simplified further. Because for have here, 2 can go here to give us 3, right? Why 2 will go here to give us 2 and 1. So we'll have this to become 3 divided by 21 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. 3 can still go here to give us 1. 3 will go here to give us what? 7. So we are going to have 1 divided by 7 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. That's the point we should also know. So to simplify this, we are going to have the result to our question. Now, when we divide this 1 divided by 7, what is it going to give us? Definitely, it's going to give us a series of decimal points. Now, 1 divided by 7 is not possible. We'll write a 0 and put a point and make sure that we put a 0 in the decimal place. Now, 10 divided by 7 is going to give us what? We're going to have 1, right? And this times this, 1 times 7 will give us what? 7. While these subtract each other, we'll have this to become what? 3. 3 divided by 7 is not possible, right? You put a 0 here, right? 30 divided by 7 is going to give us 4. That is going to give us 4, right? 4 times 7 is going to give us 28, right? So if we have 28 here, we're going to subtract this. And when you subtract this, you'll be left with what? You'll be left with what? 2, because this will give us 10 minus 8, and that will be 2. So we'll go ahead with the division. 2 divided by 7 is not possible. You put 0. 20 divided by 7, remember, is going to go in 2 places, because 7 times 2 will give us 14, and then we'll have 14. And when you subtract this, it still goes on and on. So our value still continue going on and on. And if you continue subtracting or dividing, you're going to have that to become 0.14 to what? To 8 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. Now, this is what our result is going to give us. Now, how do we do away with this standard form points? Remember, this is a positive word, this is a positive 1. So what we are going to do is to take this decimal point to back to one step movement. And when we do that, we'll have this to become 1 point forward, 4 to 8. And then we eradicated the what? The standard form notation. Now remember that you are asked to solve these correct to 2 decimal places. So how do you solve these correct to 2 decimal places? This is a result, but not the end result, because we need just to solve these to 2 decimal places. Now, after the point, we are going to have these to 2 decimal places to give us 1 point. For when you approximate this is going to give you 3, and that will give us 1.43 as the solution to this UTME question 2003, number 8 that we were given. Now, this is the last question we are going to take on our discussion for today. We've gone through series of JAMB UTME questions, like 5 of them, and this is under the topic. I promised you we'll be taking the second topic under the number and numeration, which is fraction, decimal, and approximations. In our next discussions, we are going to consider this other part, which is percentage error, simple interest, profit and loss percentage, and then in our subsequent class, we'll take ratio, proportion, and rates. And that will bring an end to the second part of the section 1 of your syllabus, as we'll also consider series of questions under this. Now, as a way of revising what we have done, we have discussed a lot about decimal numbers. We've also talked about decimal fractions, and we know what decimal fractions are now. We'll also talk about decimal places. When you are asked to round some given numbers to their decimal places, rounding such numbers, remember the zeros before or after the decimal point are always what? Are always counted. So don't forget that when you are asked to round up a given number to some certain decimal numbers, if zeros are included in that number, like 0.026, this is part of the number. So if you are asked to round this up to 2 decimal places, you're going to have 0.03, because this will be approximated to this to make it what? 3. So the 0 after the point are always counted. Now, that is, the reverse is the case when it comes to significant figures. In significant figures, you can be asked to represent some given numbers in 2 significant figures, in 3 significant figures, in 4 significant figures. Now, take note that the zeros after the decimal point are not significant figures or numbers. We only take note of the non-zero digits. And so if I'm asked to render these to 2 significant figures, the only number I'm going to consider is 0.026, because this is towards the 2 significant figure. Now, assuming we have a number less than 4 here, it will still be 2. But if we have a number up to 9 here, this will be approximated to make this 7. So we are going to have 0.027 as 2 significant figures. Now that is for significant figures. The non-zero digits are only counted, but the zeros after the decimal points are not counted. Now, we've also talked a lot about approximation, which is one of those things we did here, reducing number, rounding values before performing the real operations. They are very important when you deal with questions in JAMB UTME examination. And one thing I want to advise you as you take the JAMB exam is that you should make sure that when you solve questions like this, you take a look for the simplest ways to solve such questions. Last time we weren't able to come on live to discuss the number basis, but in our next class, we are going to consider the number basis and we'll consider 4 key points. The class is going to take place today by 4. And if you miss that class, probably you can check my channel for a live replay of that question. So this is how far we can be able to go today on today's live class. I look forward to seeing you watch our live class subsequently as we'll keep on discussing points that you truly appreciate as we solve questions in your JAMB UTME syllabus, step after step. By the time you finish your exams, by the time you finish your exams by the time finish your exams, or by the time your exam comes more closer, we will be able to round up these syllabus. And I promise you, we'll take it as fast as we can so as to be able to round up with time. So if you have been viewing this class, we say thanks so much for watching. And don't forget to inform your friends of our live class, as we'll also be sharing or be having a live class by 4 p.m. today, where we'll review some other questions that have been discussed in our previous discussion. That is on what? On number basis. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also continue to watch our live stream. Thanks so much for watching, and bye-bye for now.